In this module, we're going to take a look at our third E of modern work culture, experience. Now, employee experience, also known as EX, is the culmination of every interaction that an employee has with an organization. So this could be everything from recruiting to onboarding, even transitioning an employee outside the organization. Now, interestingly, overnight, the nature of these interactions changed immediately as we were all sent home. Now, many employees were perhaps looking forward to what they thought was going to be a very temporary break from working in the office. They were finally going to get to experience what it was like to work from home. They were probably looking forward to having more time to sleep in. They'd get to cook their own meals, ultimately have more free time to themselves, and it would be much less stressful. However, working from home during a global pandemic wasn't exactly what they imagined, and it turned out to be really stressful. Yes, of course, we got to see our pets every day, and wearing pants was optional, but there were so many stresses that employees were faced with every morning when they woke up, from a disrupted routine to job uncertainty, and again, what has felt like never-ending stress, anxiety, and even isolation. I'm sure many of us can relate to this man many times over the course of the past year. And when it comes to video conferencing, well, I think we all really need a break from that as well. But Zoom fatigue and working from home fatigue are very real, and they have serious impacts on employee well-being. Employees today are working longer hours and spending more time in virtual meetings than ever before. 70% of employees view the pandemic as the most stressful period in their professional lives. Even before the pandemic arrived, achieving work-life balance was such a struggle, but today it feels absolutely impossible. Now, typically, to offset the demands and hectic lifestyle that so many professionals lived before the pandemic, organizations would offer a variety of perks, everything from catered meals to paid-for rides to fun things like paid gym memberships and tickets to live sporting events. But because of so many social distancing restrictions that are still put in place, many of these perks don't even exist right now. Employees can't access these things. Not to mention, many companies are financially constrained during this time and are still recovering financially, so they're unable to offer things like this. However, the sooner that organizations can instead shift their focus to employee well-being, as opposed to trying to replicate that in-office experience at home, the better off we're all going to be. In the Insight Worker Perks, we see how a number of companies are offering larger perks to help ease the personal burdens their employees are going through during this time, whether that be child tutor work perks, to helping employees pay for different pieces of furniture to use at their in-home offices. But there are ways that you can also support your employees by really focusing on their employee well-being. Everything from prioritizing mental health support to ensure that you are designating those online and offline hours, and also encouraging staycations and personal days, and also remembering that your employees still need to be recognized, even if it is in a virtual setting. Now, parents are especially facing a unique set of challenges during this time. Not only are they working from home and trying to do a good job there, but many of them are caring for families, and they've also stepped into the role of teacher, as so many students have yet to return to in-person learning. But there are so many ways that organizations can support those working parents right now. If you can afford it, consider subsidized childcare. Of course, offer a flexible schedule. Consider setting up juice box chats between different children. We're also seeing many organizations use an internal Slack channel to trade different parenting tips, and consider hosting kid-friendly webinars to give mom and dad a little bit of me time back into their day. Now, working mothers have also been especially hard hit during this time. Studies show that women's participation in the labor force has reached its lowest level in 3 decades as a result of COVID-19. Now, onboarding is such an integral part of any employee experience, and it's looking a lot different in our virtual world. In the Insight Virtual Onboarding, we see how many companies are taking that onboarding experience into the virtual realm. And this is absolutely crucial. There are so many important touch points and meaningful relationships that are formed during an employee's onboarding. But what about the Gen Z employees who are entering the workforce for the very first time? These are employees who have not only never met anyone face-to-face at the company, but they may have never worked in an actual office before. So they've never had that chance to establish those relationships that they can, use to sustain themselves while they are working from home. And we know that working relationships are absolutely key when it comes to a strong employee experience, but also high engagement among your team. In the Insight Corporate Retreat, we see how many businesses are looking to virtual alternatives for not only social events, but also social bonding activities as a way to really stay connected and help those employees out who have been feeling very isolated during this time. At the end of the day, 4 out of 5 employees actually miss seeing and interacting with their colleagues on a daily basis. And this is why a physical space where your employees can not only collaborate, but socialize with one another in the future is going to be critical to your success as a business. So when it comes to creating that strong employer experience in the recharted workplace, employers must accept their impact on employee well-being today. This cannot be overlooked. Work-life balance is all about work-life integration. We live where we work, and we work where we live. And your employee experience has to touch on both in-office and remote workers, especially as we look forward to this hybrid model. That wraps up our module on experience. Another homework question for you to consider. Describe how your company's employee experience aligns to today's varying employee needs.